There's a stretch of coastline on the south shore of Long Island where everything looks too perfect. Private beaches, white umbrellas lined in perfect rows, children running barefoot through dunes while expensive music drifts from pool decks overlooking the Atlantic. At night, the clubs in Atlantic Beach glow like floating islands against the dark shoreline. Places like Catalina Beach Club, the Sands Atlantic Beach, and the others stretching west along the boardwalk. During summer weekends, the entire coast stays awake until almost sunrise. Valets smoking behind kitchens, generators humming beneath wooden decks, golf carts moving through service entrances, music echoing over the dunes, and somewhere underneath all of it, something else. The smell was always the first sign. Locals knew it immediately, a thick, rotten odor rolling in after midnight whenever the tide pulled unusually low. Tourists blamed seaweed, dead fish, algae blooms. Sometimes people joked that a whale probably washed up somewhere offshore, but older workers along the South Shore didn't laugh anymore because the smell always seemed strongest near the western beach clubs, especially after storms, especially near the old maintenance tunnels beneath the dunes. And over the years, people started disappearing, not enough to become national news, just enough to become folklore. A valet in the 90s, a dishwasher from Queens, a bartender who never came home after closing, a woman renting a summer house who vanished during a late night jog along the boardwalk. Police always found explanations: drugs, drowning, runaways, mental health episodes. The ocean takes people all the time. That was the story the town preferred. Then Thomas Mercer died. Thomas spent 35 years working maintenance beneath the beach clubs of Atlantic Beach. Quiet man, divorced, never talked much. He repaired generators, flood systems, electrical tunnels buried beneath the dunes. Everyone trusted him because he minded his business. But toward the end of his life, people noticed changes. Thomas stopped sleeping, started driving the shoreline during storms, became obsessed with tide charts. One bartender claimed Thomas grabbed him during a hurricane warning and whispered, "Never stay near the clubs during a black tide." Nobody knew what that meant. Then Thomas died suddenly from what the county called a stroke. And that's when his son came home. Daniel Mercer hadn't lived on Long Island in nearly 10 years. He worked in Brooklyn as a freelance videographer, making documentaries almost nobody watched. He and his father barely spoke anymore. Too much resentment, too many years apart. Daniel almost skipped the funeral completely, but guilt has a way of dragging people home. The funeral was small, mostly old maintenance workers and lifeguards from the beach clubs. And Daniel noticed something immediately. Nobody wanted to discuss his father. Conversations stopped when he approached. People avoided eye contact. One older maintenance worker from Catalina shook Daniel's hand and quietly said he should have left it buried, then walked away. That night, Daniel stayed at his father's small house near Long Beach. The house smelled like machine oil and salt air. Everything inside was obsessively organized, tools labeled, shelves arranged perfectly. And in the garage, an entire wall covered in tide charts, hundreds of them, some dating back 20 years. Pinned beneath the charts were handwritten notes. Low tide exposure, western section. They open again during storms. Daniel felt uneasy immediately. Then he found the trunk, locked beneath a workbench. Inside were *VHS tapes, *Polaroids, *keys, *maintenance, maps, old zoning documents, photographs of underground hatches beneath the beach clubs. Every photograph had something circled in red marker: concrete openings, drainage tunnels, steel doors hidden beneath dunes. One note repeated constantly in Thomas's handwriting: they were here before the clubs. Daniel spent hours staring at the material. His father wasn't paranoid, wasn't unstable, so why had he spent years documenting underground tunnels beneath Atlantic Beach? The first VHS tape answered part of that question. Static filled the screen before shaky footage appeared. Thomas moved through narrow underground corridors beneath the beach clubs. Concrete walls dripped seawater. Rust-covered pipes stretched overhead. The sound of distant waves echoed through the darkness. Thomas whispered quietly into the camera, Maintenance corridor west section, tide dropping faster tonight. The footage continued for several minutes. Then the camera turned toward a massive steel door, partially submerged underwater. The tape cut immediately. The second tape was worse. Thomas stood beside another maintenance worker Daniel vaguely remembered from childhood. The man looked terrified. "You can't keep filming this," he whispered. Thomas ignored him. The camera pointed downward into a flooded hallway lined with industrial steel doors. Every door had faded numbers painted across it. Then the worker said something Daniel replayed over and over again. These chambers were already here before Atlantic Beach existed. The tape ended immediately afterward. Daniel barely slept. The next morning, he began researching the town's history. Most records described Atlantic Beach exactly how outsiders imagined it. Luxury shoreline, exclusive beach culture, summer paradise. But buried deep in old Nassau County zoning records was one strange phrase repeated multiple times during construction approvals from the 20th century. Foundation plans adjusted around pre-existing subterranean structures. No explanation followed. No diagrams, nothing else. Daniel became obsessed. Over the next week he interviewed locals quietly. Most refused to talk. Some became visibly nervous when he mentioned tunnels beneath the beach clubs. Eventually, he found a retired lifeguard willing to meet him near the boardwalk after midnight. Fog drifted over the dunes, while waves crashed somewhere beyond the darkness. The old man Chain smoked cigarettes while staring toward the ocean. "You smell that tonight?" he asked. Daniel nodded. Even with the wind, the rotten odor lingered heavily in the air. "Gets worse before storms," the old man said. "What causes it?" The lifeguard looked toward the clubs, things underneath. Daniel asked about the tunnels. The old man's expression hardened immediately. "You ever hear about the black tide?" Daniel shook his head. The old man took a long drag from his cigarette. "Every few years, the tide pulls farther back than normal around Atlantic Beach. How far? Far enough to expose doors." Daniel stared at him. "What kind of doors?" The old man crushed the cigarette beneath his shoe. "The kind people keep burying." Then he walked away into the fog. That night Daniel couldn't stop thinking about the tapes or the smell. Around 2 a.m. he drove toward the western clubs. The shoreline was almost empty. Fog rolled low beneath the boardwalk. And for the first time, Daniel noticed something strange. Warm air rising through cracks between the wooden planks. Not ocean air, mechanical heat. Then he heard it, far beneath his feet, a deep metallic sound. Slow, heavy, like giant machinery moving underneath the sand. The next night Daniel used one of his father's keys to access an old maintenance hatch hidden behind a supply building near the sands. The hatch opened immediately. The smell nearly made him gag. Rotting seawater, oil, decay. Daniel climbed downward carefully with a flashlight and handheld camera. Concrete stairs disappeared deep beneath the dunes. The farther down he went, the quieter the world became. Eventually even the ocean disappeared. No wind, no waves, only dripping water. The tunnels stretched impossibly far beneath Atlantic Beach. Some sections looked ancient. Others, reinforced recently with modern steel beams and electrical wiring. Every corridor sloped downward toward the Atlantic. Then Daniel found the chamber. Hundreds of beach lockers stood partially submerged in black seawater. Rust covered every surface. Some lockers hung open. Inside were belongings, wallets, jewelry, employee badges, phones, children's toys. Daniel's breathing quickened. He filmed everything. Then he noticed the photographs taped along one wall. Dozens of missing persons, some old, some recent. Several had red X marks drawn through their faces. One showed the missing jogger from years earlier. Another showed a bartender who vanished during a summer season. And beneath many of the photographs were dates. Every disappearance aligned with unusually low tides. Suddenly, footsteps echoed somewhere deeper in the tunnels. Slow, heavy, Daniel shut off his flashlight instantly. Darkness swallowed everything. The footsteps continued, closer now. Then fluorescent lights flickered alive somewhere farther down the corridor. Modern lights. Someone was still using these tunnels. Daniel crouched silently behind the flooded lockers as a figure emerged from the darkness. an older man wearing maintenance coveralls with a beach club logo stitched across the chest. The man stopped immediately, as if he already knew Daniel was there. "Are you Thomas's boy?" Daniel slowly stood. "What is this place?" The old man looked exhausted. "You think the clubs built these tunnels?" He shook his head. "These chambers were already here." "How old are they?" "No one knows." The old man stared deeper into the darkness. "But people have been disappearing along this shoreline long before the town existed." Daniel asked about the photographs, the missing people, the lockers. The old man rubbed his face nervously. "Storms uncover things, and people panic, so the town buries it again." Daniel suddenly realized the true horror. Not monsters, not ghosts. People, generations of people protecting the same secret. Club owners, contractors, police, maintenance workers, all preserving the illusion above ground while something terrible remained hidden underneath Atlantic Beach. Then somewhere far below them, a massive metallic boom echoed through the tunnels. The old man's face changed instantly. Fear, real fear. The tides turning, another metallic boom thundered beneath them. The floor trembled violently, and suddenly seawater exploded through lower corridors, fast, aggressive. The old man grabbed Daniel's arm. "You need to leave now." Then Daniel heard something beneath the sound of flooding. Voices, whispers echoing through the tunnels, dozens of them. The fluorescent lights flickered violently, and far down one submerged hallway, steel doors slowly began opening underwater, one after another. Daniel froze. Shapes moved behind the circular windows in the doors. Human-shaped silhouettes standing perfectly still beneath the black water, watching. Daniel ran. Floodwater surged through the tunnels behind him. The entire underground structure groaned violently beneath Atlantic Beach. As Daniel climbed the stairs toward the surface, he looked back once. Far below in the darkness, one of the submerged figures had moved closer to the glass. Pale face, sunken eyes, mouth hanging slightly open underwater. Watching him leave, Daniel escaped moments before seawater erupted through lower chambers. The hatch slammed shut behind him. By sunrise, a massive storm covered the south shore. Police blocked sections of Atlantic Beach by noon. Construction crews arrived before sunset. Fresh concrete appeared near multiple dune areas overnight. Local news reported only storm-related infrastructure damage and nothing else. Daniel uploaded the footage online that night. For several hours it spread everywhere. Forums, conspiracy pages, horror channels, social media. Then everything disappeared. Videos removed, accounts deleted, copyright claims filed, threats sent anonymously. By morning, almost every copy was gone. Except one clip. Only 7 seconds survived online. During Daniel's escape, his camera briefly captured one of the underwater chamber windows, and behind the glass, a pale human face staring outward from the darkness below Atlantic Beach. People still argue whether the footage is real. Most claim it's edited, but workers along the South Shore still talk about the smell during certain tides, especially near the western beach clubs. And every few years after major storms, when enough sand washes away, people report seeing concrete structures briefly emerge beneath the dunes before the town quickly buries them again. As if the ocean itself is trying to expose whatever was hidden beneath Atlantic Beach. And according to one anonymous Nassau County contractor who disappeared shortly after posting online, there's a reason the beach clubs rebuild immediately after every major hurricane, no matter the cost. Because if the Atlantic ever fully pulls the shoreline back, the entire South Shore might finally see how large the chambers beneath the sand really are, and how long something down there has been waiting for the tide to return.